My name is Adan, Keynan, Member of Parliament, Eldas. In the past, I was also the MP for Wajir West. And today, by the grace of God, I am the longest serving Member of Parliament in Kenya.
How many terms have you served now?
5.
This is your 5th term?
Yes.
Those continuous?
No, I had a slight break, came back, and then 4 continuous.
Okay.
Right. That was 92?
97.
97, okay.
So your experience in politics, and especially at the national level in National Assembly, is going to be coming in here as we look at the by-elections and what it means. But first, Janet is going to welcome you with the day's quote.
Yeah, today's quote is by Nelson Mandela, and he once said, "Safety and security do not just happen. They are the result of collective consensus and public investment." I'll say it again. Safety and security do not just happen. They are the result of collective consensus and public investment. How do you translate that, especially in light of everything that's happened over the last few days?
Well, I think safety and security are two synonymous words that imply or generally describe security. And therefore, it means they don't just happen. There must be contribution by the public, by those who are entrusted with law enforcement, and key decision makers. And that is what can give safety and security. And I think in Mandela's word, because taking into account the background, where he was, what happened to him later, and the position that he got later on towards the end of his public life, that is a true statement. Because, and I think this clearly describes the situation in many African countries, in particular the whole world today. So therefore, there must be public participation, there must be public contribution, so that the public accept that this is an output of what they're expected actually to do.
Indeed.
Well said. Yeah.
Adan, we saw by-elections last week, and there was a lot of violence in many of the areas. Violence that we could not say was unprecedented or unexpected. In some areas, you could say there was build-up of tension that there was going to be violence. But violence happened, violence that then just cast a bad shadow on the conduct of those by-elections. Many people have come out to say they are concerned that this could be telling us what could happen in 2027. What do you feel about the violence?
I think, let me say categorically that there's no room for violence in a democratic, modern-day Kenya. Kenya is a democracy. Everybody must be allowed to operate within the law, and the law applies across the board. So if an individual has been used to create chaos, we always say criminal responsibility is individual. The law enforcement agencies must play their constitutional role. We cannot just stand outside and say there's violence here. There must be actors. The actors must be dealt with decisively in accordance with the law. That is what will give us an image. That is what will give us, that status of being respected as a member, not even a member, as a responsible member of the international community. And therefore, that tag Kenya as a responsible member is not something that we can play with. And take into account what has happened in the region. Look at the Horn of Africa, look at East Africa. Kenya has been a haven of peace. Look at our neighbors. So we should not take anything for granted. We must all submit to the rule of law. And I want to appeal to my colleagues, to the public, to any who will be proponent of violence, that in Kenya, in the modern day Kenya, we must all submit to the rule of law. And therefore, the police and other law enforcement agencies must play their cardinal constitutional role and bring to book those agents of chaos and deal with them in accordance with the law. That is the only way everybody can respect the law and submit to the will under the current constitutional framework. And that is what our grandfathers, that is what our heroes and heroines have left us with, and that must not be allowed to be taken away by individuals with ill motives.
And I still feel like in many ways they understand the law, but it's bypassed. The other thing that opposition candidates said is state resources were used to intimidate, to disrupt their campaigns, and in some senses, allegedly, to also cause violence as well. Your response to that?
You see, it is very easy to make a generalized allegation. We have agencies. We have the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We have the police. We have DPP. We have the Ombudsman. We have many other avenues. If there is an iota of evidence, you know, at times when you are beaten, and you also understand, you will be in a position with those frustrations to say, this has happened, this has happened. I want to challenge those with evidence, an iota of evidence, to submit to the will of law, to submit to those agencies tasked with, you see, look at the constitutional framework. The framers of the current constitution decided to have agencies outside the ambit of the political elites. We have the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, which is a constitutional commission. We have the Police Service Commission, which is a constitutional commission. We have the Ombudsman, which is a constitutional. They were not fools. What they had in mind is there shall come a time when these agencies will be expected to make critical decisions that cut across. And therefore, they do not want them to be under the influence or the direction of any politician. So I want to challenge those who are making those allegations. Please report to the necessary agents, go to court. We have one of the most vibrant judiciary, actually, east and south of Sahara. Go present the evidence in court. Just going to a baraza, making wild allegations, I think honestly, that is not what Kenyans deserve. Take those evidence to the relevant government agencies and share with us. Because for you and me, it just remains an allegation. An allegation is an allegation until proven. Okay. So for now, we are all consumers of raw propaganda. And I think, yes, raw, I will use raw propaganda. And I think at your level and my level, we are entitled to a better, well-choreographed information. And that is what will help us make an informed decision as to whether there was any wrongdoing.
Can I ask, as someone who has served 5 terms, is serving their 5th term in Parliament, historically, talk to me about how you've seen the use or the weaponization of goons by politicians or political actors for whatever reason. What did it look like in the 90s? Did it fade at some point, and then now we're seeing a resurgence, or has it always been there but very quiet?
You see, all over the world, again, you know, if we look at it, Kenya in isolation, I think we may not understand. Look at the politics. Look at the global political trajectory. Look at what is happening all over the world. There's some sort of, could I call it, chaos? There is some sort of, like people are saying, the other day I was in Ireland. I was shocked. During the election, 69% of the voters voted for a particular candidate. 16% just picked their ballot papers and did not vote for a particular candidate. And 16% actually ended up voting for the other candidate. You have seen what has also happened in Netherlands the other day. They voted a young man, 28-year-old. I do not want to delve into his personal life. Taking that into account, you can see what's happened actually in the global, in quote, leader, America right now. But you see, the Kenyan phenomenon is unique. And you need to appreciate this. Kenya is a collection, it's a melting point of many tribes. And I always say this, many nation states. How did we come together? By fate, by coincidence, by the making of the British, a combination of all this. And luckily today we have one identity called the Republic of Kenya that gives you an identity. What is that identity? Our national flag. What is our second identity? The currency. What is the third identity? The presidency. What is the other sport? There are many things that put us together. And therefore, meaning therefore, those commonalities were expected actually to suppress those other competing ethnic-based, regional-based actually identities. Unfortunately, since independence, we have carried the tribal tag, we have carried the regional tag, we have created some sort of personality cults. I wouldn't want to use the word enigmas because I think that's a preserve of one particular individual. So all this meaning, therefore, that the individuals who are struggling, you know, in politics, fortunately, we have 2 categories. We have those I describe as test tube politicians. Those who ride, joy riders. Those who ride on the back of political parties or particular individuals because on their own, they cannot be elected. And therefore, at any given time, meaning they must fight for relevance. They must fight for their presence to actually to be. And those are very dangerous group. So I think the bottom line is this: we have no room for goonism. We have no room for criminal elements. These things have been there since the advent of multipartyism. 1992, we have had challenges, you are aware. 1997, we have had challenges here and there. 2002, I think it was one of the most peaceful elections that we have had. 2007, you remember again what happened. 2013, it was generally okay. 2017, it was generally okay. 2022, it was generally okay. And inshallah, 2027, it will always be okay. But remember, everybody is struggling to create a niche. Everybody is trying to occupy that competitive space. What is that space? We are fighting for your votes. We are fighting for those limited positions, vacancies. And within the group, you are coming from different background. You are a politician, maybe on your own, as this, you cannot clinch a seat. What do you have to do? Do certain things. These are things that we are saying today, and we have said before, that in the modern day Kenya, we must all submit, because this is a civilized nation, we must all submit to the rule of the will of the people. If you look at Article 1 of the Constitution, it says sovereignty. And you understand that sovereignty shall be exercised through the elected representatives. And therefore, meaning, what we are enjoying is a delegated responsibility. You have given us the vote under the constitutional framework, and that delegation, that responsibility must be discharged, must be carried out in a manner consistent with the will, the wishes of the people, as in line with our constitution.
You know, there's something, Adan, that I sometimes feel that politicians, yourself included, sometimes feel that the Chapter 1, Article 1 of the Constitution actually says things the other way around. That all politicians in Kenya, all sovereign power in Kenya rests to the politician and shall be exercised with some consultation with the people. All right? And this comes into how politicians conduct themselves. You're going into an election, you call it a do or die, you say this is a moment for me to lead the people, you say I'm here championing the rights of my people, but you do not respect the people whom you want to represent. Here's why I say so. Violence and the no repercussion for violence is because the institutions that we have created in our constitution to make sure that they are the ones that safeguard us against violence have been whittled down by the political class. All these commissions you've mentioned, they basically don't have much teeth and power because of what Parliament has done to them over the years. How has Parliament vetted the people who sit in these commissions? How has Parliament funded these commissions? So today we expect, for example, that the NCIC, the Commission on Administration of Justice, the IEBC and others will take action. Even the police can't take action against politicians. Why? Because politicians have somehow taken hold of the police.
I think I disagree. First of all, the politicians don't operate in a utopian world. They are your product. We are your products. We are your products. You voted for us. And I think if I was to go by your statement, then that will have been the easiest route for all of us because there will be no need for election. But that's not what our forefathers actually emphasized. Our forefathers emphasized a thriving, resilient, democratic Kenya where every citizen has the right to make a personal decision. A personal decision which includes the right to vote a person of your choice, the right to vote, the right not to vote, the right to associate, the right to, and these things are clearly enshrined in the Constitution. What is not coming out properly is like all of us have taken the back seat, we want to blame, but yet do we ask ourselves, what is my contribution to what is happening in Kenya? Have I contributed indirectly? Have I voted the wrong person? Have I associated myself with the wrong group? And if we were to do an individual audit, you will realize that whatever challenges that we are going through has an element of your participation. Either you voted through a tribal line, either you do not vote, or either you are influenced by other things, and therefore your work is just to critique a product that either by omission or commission represents you. So I think the message that I'm trying to say is this: let's accept that all of us are tied at the hip, all of us are citizens of this beautiful, the life in Republic. And I say beautiful because I've traveled all over the world. I have traveled all over the world, almost over 150 countries. We have a beautiful country. We have a resilient people. What is missing right now is focus. And please remember, let's not take for granted what is happening. Let's not take for granted. We have a beautiful country. We are lucky that we have never gone through militarism. You can see what has happened the other day, just 2 days ago. We are lucky that we have never had the chaos that has, affected some of our neighbors.
Is there some responsibility that politicians take? If I'm to go off what Eric has said, and I think we've had the conversation with Eric and Mariam, which is also, in as much as we also hold ourselves accountable. Many times here we say, Piani Sisi, who we vote, how we vote. But on the other hand, I think, even speaking to the institutions that no longer have teeth or muscle, that in many ways is a direct result of a lot of these institutions being co-opted or politicized. So some responsibility and burden must also be on members of parliament, and we try to hold ourselves accountable, but leadership also has to step up in fairness and justice.
I don't agree. I have literally served, at one time I was the only backbencher in the House Business Committee, which was then chaired under the old constitution, which was then chaired by the Vice President. I have been the chair of Defense and Foreign Relations at that particular time, military, defense, and everything else. I've chaired public accounts, you know it. I have been a member of public investment. I have been a commissioner with the Audit Commission. I have served 3 terms as under the old constitution as the vice chair of then the Parliamentary Service Commission and Marende. I have served as a commissioner and chaired the staff welfare. I have served as a commissioner and served as chairman finance. I have been the first chairman of the Center for Parliamentary Studies. Literally, I'm in the budget. I understand this. It's not true. You see, we're trying to pass the buck. Under the current constitutional framework, those things were envisaged. The framers were very clear in their mind that none of these individuals under these commissions will be at the direction of anybody. If you have failed, you have no business of being at the helm of those commissions. If you are in NCIC and you have failed to discharge your function, forget, go the other many qualified Kenyans. If you are in ethics and anti-corruption, work in line with the constitution. If you are in IBC, do the same. But I think what we are trying to do right now, there's a lot of politics. The atmosphere is, call it the ecosystem, is confluted with political confusion. That's not what Kenya needs. What Kenya needs is a period of call it without politics. It's like the elections come, we start another cycle. When shall we develop? You need food, you need housing, you need decent shelter, you need proper medical service. These things have a price. And therefore, my conclusion on this, it's easy to blame the politicians. Sometimes, when you have food, when you have cooked wrongly, you just say, the cook was bad. But remember, maybe you have bought the wrong food, maybe you have the wrong kitchen.
No,
maybe
you've just been saying, Adan, that we actually put in the right ingredients. We have the right sukuma, the right kitungu, the right nyanya, called the constitution, and the laws, okay? The person that we have given the job of kukatakata kupika kuserve is a politician who's wasting us. Look at the people of Mary North, for example, all right? Over 33,000 or so came out to vote, 61% turnout. There was a very minuscule number of them who were engaged in violence. Some maybe not even residents of Mary North. Why would the police not act? Let's be clear, let's be very honest with ourselves. The police would fear to act in the case of Mary North, in the case of Vihiga, in the case of Kasipul, and Kariobangi North, and even yesterday, because of the politics and the politicians involved. Because they fear the repercussion of the politician. They don't fear the repercussion of the public. They don't fear that the people of Mary North or Kasipul would turn out against the police for acting. They fear that the political leaders would come and attack them.
I think if I will...
Let's go to a break.
Just hold the thought for just 1 second. Short break and we'll be right back. I think it is important because we can, shift the blame, but truly, again, we do delegate to our leaders, hence the term leader, right? Hashtag is Fixing the Nation and TV. We are in studio with Elders MP Adan Keynan discussing the by-elections and, of course, the gunification of Kenyan politics. What's at play here? We'll be back after this.
Nice. The Kikombe says, could it be that the leadership system we inherited doesn't fit our cultural and social system? Is it possible that our so-called democracy is failing our society economically and socially? This is becoming a very big conversation, by the way, globally. People saying we inherited things that we didn't fully internalize, fully understand. Now where we are, how do you bring together different elements of leadership when we're so far in? That stresses me. But anyway, Mungai 6969 says, Mheshimiwa, it's important to know that once upon a time, countries like Haiti and Sudan had a future, but contempt for their respective constitutions by either the wealthy or political class sowed the seed we see today. You'll respond to that shortly. Somebody else here says, bravo, Adan Keynan, you make us proud. So that's Zahra Hassan. And then somebody here, Samo Masharia, just says, good morning, fixers. Really, Q3G asks, please ask the MP if it's okay or moral for a person to occupy an elective post for so long. So then why would we complain when presidents are in office for long periods? Okay.
It's like a term limit for MPs.
Is
That's what
they're
he's saying.
Yeah.
Kuna mwanaharakati Mukayo anasema samaki huanza kuoza kuanzia kichwani. Mstakabali wa taifa unategemea jinsi tunavyowakuza vijana wetu. Mbona wanasiasa wawatumie visivyo jamani? I think that's a question on the gunification, right? But please respond, Honorable Keynan.
Let me respond to what he said. I'm not in any way trying to defend the police. But I'm one person truly who believes in adherence to the rule of law. And the police have a very difficult task, responsibility of actually maintaining law and order. My appeal to the police, as emphasized under the current constitution, as part of our constitutional governance process, is to make sure at any given time they follow the law and make sure they maintain law and order by arresting any individual, regardless of his or her status, to submit to the rule of law. But if we were to go by what my friend said, is any suspicion, you will be arrested. No, it's preceded by a process of investigation, unless you are caught red-handed. And therefore, I'm not in any way, those with evidence, as you have suggested, and the violence that took place in certain parts of the country during the just concluded by-elections, I think the police must up their games and do what they're expected to do by the Kenyan citizens. For those individuals who are being used, remember, you are being used against your Kenyan citizen. Keep off. That is not why you are a citizen of this Premier Republic. But let me come back to this. It's true that Haiti and Sudan were once, and in fact, particular, I have visited Sudan. Khartoum was one of the most beautiful cities that you could. Actually, I considered Khartoum as my second home. You can see today what has happened. The reason? Three things. The populace did not think out of their tribal cocoons. The leadership. You remember the way the revolution started? People just say, al-Bashir must go. They didn't have a plan B. Al-Bashir must go. The young Gen Zs went to the gates of State House and say, al-Bashir must go. We must reduce the price of unga. We must do this. But they didn't have a plan. That's why I always say democracy is very expensive. Militarism is not an option. Is not an option under whatever circumstance. Al-Bashir left. What happened? Chaos. Sudan now is ungovernable. It will take a while, even if they come together, to rebuild and bring back Sudan to that civilization. That's why in the Kenyan context, let's fight within the constitutional framework. Not through goonism, not through violence, not through tribal tag, not through incitement. No, the right to vote. And I want to appeal to the youth. Go and get your IDs. Register as voters. Choose a candidate of your choice, not somebody from your tribe, not the person who has been incited. If you do that, then you'll be at home. You'll have a product. But here we are. We just sit somewhere and say, we must do this, we must do this. Go. The tool actually you have is your ID and your voter card. Otherwise, for me as an individual, what has happened in Haiti, Kenya is part of now the global stabilization force. Our soldiers are there thousands of miles away. If Haiti was peaceful, If Haiti was democratic, then our Kenyan soldiers will not have been there. Sudan here, our neighbor, you have seen what is happening. How many refugees from Sudan are here? There are many. We have had thousands and thousands of Kenyan students actually who are going to school there. Right now they can't go. So I think it's because of this that we need civility. We need civility. We need adherence to the rule of law so that every citizen positively contributes to the running of the affairs of Kenya. The other bit, of course, somebody said, you know, in politics, if you go to America right now, there's no, once the current constitution doesn't have any term limit for a member of parliament, but once you introduce, I'll be the first one. Of course, politics is competitive. In America, there are guys who are there for 60 years, 50 years, you know their names, who have been members of Congress. So it's democracy. But inshallah, as it has been, when the time comes, I am a believer and I believe in predestination. Everything happens by something called Qatar, meaning the life cycle that you go through is something that has been preordained by the Mecca. So proudly, there must be a reason why the voters in my former constituency, Wajir West, the voters in my current constituency, have given me the opportunity, and I thank them, and proudly, wherever I am, I represent them in accordance with their wish within the constitutional framework of the Republic of Kenya. On the police, on these other groups, I want to appeal to them. The NCIC, the Police Service Commission, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the IBC, please act in accordance with the rule of law. That is what our forefathers and the framers of the current constitution expected you to do.
You know, I've heard what Honorable is saying, and the whole time that you were saying about we have to follow the rule of law, abide by the rule of law. What came to mind again was last year's protests, and I think in every way, I believe Kenyans were actually trying to redirect leadership back to the Constitution. Protests were carried out in accordance to the Constitution. After that, there was civic education, there was a push for the justice system to work for Kenyans. So I feel like, I don't know that it's necessarily that people don't understand the rule of law or want to disrespect it. I don't want us to go around in circles here, but I really think the ball lies in a bigger court called Parliament and leadership. Because Kenyans are actually trying to prioritize the Constitution. There's almost been like a resurgence of respect and honor of the Constitution by young people and by people across Kenya. They're walking around and saying, this is what we have to follow. But oftentimes you'll hear cases are dropped, or the justice system is rigged, or it's being compromised. And so I feel like what you're saying matters, but I feel like it also needs to be echoed in other chambers that are beyond here.
You see, the right to picketing, the right to political association is a critical component of our constitution.
Yeah.
But we have violence, goonism, destruction of property, looting, the kind of things that we saw at that particular time. Where do we have them under our current constitution? If you are to picket, look at right now what's happening in Israel. Every morning, thousands of people, like last night, thousands of people gathered outside the house of the president, democratically. But none of them was violent. None of them looted. None of them engaged in criminal activities. What we are confusing is this: the right to picketing is not synonymous with looting. The right to picketing is not synonymous with destruction of property. The right to picketing is not synonymous with goonism. The right to picketing is not synonymous with pickpocketing. So I think once we differentiate this, and the current constitution allows, you can go and sit somewhere and congregate and say, we want so-and-so to go. But do it within the law. Don't hurt other people. Allow other people a space. Allow other people also to engage with in their peaceful day-to-day activities. But in the Kenyan context, you get together, you loot.
No. Many believe it was done within the law.
Let me tell you, you get together, you destroy property. You get together, you cause mayhem. These are things that are not part of our democratic norms. These are what we are calling the new norms. And the new norms are confusing and challenging. And therefore, my appeal is there is room for everybody within the rule of law. Once that is thrown out, I can assure you, you will not have peace in your home. You will not come to the Nation newspaper here. You will be somewhere struggling for a space. That is not the Kenya that we want. The Kenya we want is one that everybody has an opportunity to function in line with his or her constitutional right.
Okay, let me redirect the conversation because I don't think we're going to get anywhere. I think for us, it's very clear that the people who benefit the most from the gunification of Kenyan politics is the politicians. I don't think it really benefits any civilian in any way. But we can go round and round in circles. I want to get to the by-elections now, and the aftermath and what it means for the constitution of parliament, you know, how it's leaning with broad-based now seeming strong and having taken almost all the seats that, you know, they vied for. What does that mean for the constitution of parliament? And going into 2027, what does that mean for Jubilee Party, for many other parties, with now broad-based basically sweeping these by-elections?
That's a good question. I want to take you back to since the advent of multipartyism. From 1991, I'm sure you were not born then.
When, 90?
1991.
No, not yet.
From 1991, look at the next election, 92. Compare 92 with 97. Compare 97 with 2002. Compare 2002 with
2007.
2007. 2007, 2013. 2013, 2017. 2017, 2022. And obviously 2027. The common denominator has been coalition making. In all. And in all, again, the denominators have changed. Every election was different from the previous election. Just like 2022 was different from 2017, I can bet in terms of framework, in terms of the formation, 2027 will also be completely different. To that extent, Kenya remains the lingering denominator, where everybody says the interest of Kenya supersedes any other interest. That's why I was among the first people. I didn't vote for the current president. I voted Raila. But immediately after the election, there was the issue of legitimacy. People went to the ground and said, we don't recognize. I said, no, we have had elections. You disputed. It went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court adjudicated and declared and certified the winner as William Ruto. Any other thing, a substitute, has to wait for 2027. We had disagreements. We had serious disagreement with the leadership of Azimio. And we say, no, that is not the Kenya. Me, I'm an old man. I have seen civil war. Look at our neighbors here. We do not want to plunge this country into a crisis. We just say, no, we will work within the rule of law and allow the current government to deliver. And I was the first people actually to say publicly that we will not subscribe to violence. Later on, we have had that committee of NADCO. You remember I was appointed?
Yeah.
And then later on, my colleagues say, no, we do not have a... And then later on, that gave birth to, finally, it reached what I predicted, the formation of broad-based government. And the issue is this. We are all in competitive politics. All in competitive politics. There comes a time when you say, I have pushed for this. What is the next best alternative? That will not injure the reputation, that will not injure the unity of the Republic of Kenya. And that's why today, proudly, I want to commend the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga for being a visionary that always considered the interest of the Republic of Kenya outside his own personal interest. And I want to also commend the President for being available to accept diverging views in running the affairs of the Republic of Kenya. Because without that, then maybe we'll have had a different state. Come back to the by-elections. We always say politics is the art of the possible. The art of the possible, driven by government of the people, by the people, for the people. You see, the broad-based government right now won. How many slots were up for grab first for election? I'm sure you know it, about 22 or 23? 22. Out of the 22, 17 were MCS. 4 MPs, 4 members of the National Assembly, and 1 senator. I think that is 22.
6 MPs.
Eh? How many?
6 MPs.
6 MPs?
Yeah, and 1 senator.
And 1 senator.
Yeah.
Out of the 6 MPs, UDA won Malava, Bere North, Banisa, and senatorial seat in Baringo.
Yeah.
ODM won Ugunja, Magarini, and Kabisul. And then out of the 17, 20, how many MCS? 17 MCS. 17 MCS. UDA won 7, DCP 3, ODM 1, Ford Kenya 1, Wiper 1, UPA, that is the United Democratic Alliance 1, Progressive Democratic Party 1, and Independent 1. In totality, cumulatively, the broad-based government won over 66% of the votes and also the positions. You see, optically speaking, that's a major achievement. But it's also a challenge. A challenge to, you see, in democracy, it's not just enough to sit somewhere. And luckily, some of us have been around. In democracy, you need to inculcate the art of persuasion, not threats. It doesn't work. Threats can turn away even your most loyal, fervent supporter. I cannot threaten you to vote me, but I can only persuade you. Only persuade you. So I think some people must have seen threats don't work. Violence doesn't work. I want to commend the proponents of the broad-based government, of which I'm a member, to pursue the same persuasion style that they have used by reaching out to every corner, every Kenyan, for a landslide win in 2027. For my friends on the other side, all is not lost. Go back to the drawing board, choreograph your message, remove violence, remove goonism, believe in democracy, allow voters to exercise their right, and ultimately, every Kenyan will make a considered individual choice. Coming back to the numbers, you see, some of the parties are in the early stage of formation.
7 months.
7 months, as somebody had said yesterday. Others have been there for a very long time. Others are going into extinction. This is the reality of our democracy. But one thing that I can predict to you, the parties in 2027, you may not see the same formations. You will see new formations that bring together different mindsets, different individuals, different regions. Okay? And the issue is, power under the current constitution is through the electorate. And through the electorate means you must persuade. So this was a win for the broad-based government. It's a loss for agents of violence and chaos. And I hope and pray that the next election will see all of us, inshallah, participating in a peaceful, resilient, transparent, and as ever we have been. Kenya is one of the most optimistic society. I'm sure you know it. That every individual will have an opportunity to vote a person of their choice. But let me make one.
You said this was a win for broad-based and a loss for agents of chaos. Does that mean those who are not in broad-based are agents of chaos?
No, I just said. You see, sometimes you ask yourself, you have a president who's going around everywhere in the Republic of Kenya, and I want you to take this seriously. I have been around as a member of parliament under Moi. I've been a member of parliament under Mzee Kibaki, one of the most respected, distinguished presidents that we've ever had. I've been a member of parliament under the Uhuru regime. I'm now a member of parliament by the grace of God under President William Ruto. I can put a comparative analysis. Sometimes people say, why is this president running around? How else will you reach the people? How else will you accept, how will you get the input of the voters if you don't reach out to them? So I think there's something that we need to learn. Moi did it, Uhuru somehow did it, Mzee Kibaki, because of circumstances, may not have been possible. So I think what I'm trying to say is this. We have seen what has happened. Take into account the Gen Z revolution. The Gen Z, I wouldn't want to call it chaos, but agitation.
Revolution is fine.
Agitation, let me call it the Gen Z agitation. Different people wanted to run away with it. I have no doubt, as a senior member of the broad-based government, I will not participate if they decide to root for violence. I'll be the first one to come out and say, no, this is not what Kenyans want. But for now, they have been on the receiving end. I can tell you. They have been on the receiving end because the task of running the nation now lies with the members of the broad-based government led by the president. And therefore, as much as all other people are allowed to enjoy their democratic space, the rule of law must apply. That's why I say I do not apportion this blame to any particular person. But I do know in our circles, in the circles that I participate as a member of the broad-based government, violence has no room. And whenever we see a person do the same, As a responsible member, as a senior citizen, as the father of the house, I'm the first one to say, no, this is not what we expect from a particular individual. The police shall exercise their right to deal with that criminal element, because we do not want one person to spoil the image of
others.
Of others.
Do you think there are elements within the broad-based who are actually supporters and perpetrators of violence?
I cannot purport to speak for everybody, because I always say criminal responsibility.
From your observation?
From my observation, if they are there, I can't rule out. There must be, you know, this is a big society. But if they are there, they have no place. They have no place in the broad-based government. The broad-based government want to take, you can see the kind of trajectory. Take this. When we got our independence in 1963, Kenya was a donor nation. We have conflicted the whole environment with politics. Morning, evening. Kenya is supposed to be a member of the developed nations. We were a donor nation once. In 1968, when Botswana got their independence, do you know we sent veterinary experts to go and train them? Today, Botswana is the leading exporter of beef to the whole world. They have replaced us. What are we doing as Kenya here? KMC is barely struggling.
We are politicking.
We are politicking. So the issue is this. You see, every government is elected on a platform, on a particular, either known or unknown manifestos. Democracy demands, and that's why the framers of the current constitution have given us with a timeline of 5 years. The timeline is to give you an opportunity to, first of all, to internalize, propagate, implement your manifesto. The alternative opponents, the group, are supposed to critique what you do. Take this. Last week there was a State of the Nation address. Have you seen an alternative? By now, the opposition, the united opposition, should have had their...
They actually had...
They should have had their nation of...
they actually had their own address. Kalonzo Musyoka addressed...
Maybe you don't want to hear this. Listen to this. By now, the president has talked about, has formulated so many policies, very generous policy framework. By now, we expected their counter reaction to the same. If we have ministers, by now they should have had their shadow ministers to respond to the policy pronouncement by the respective. Here you are every day, 2-3 people calling for press conference. That is not the way a democracy works. I want to urge them, and I want to assist them actually. Appoint your shadow ministers. Come up with policy formulators who will respond to and give an alternative policy framework to what the government does. In that way, the Kenyan public will get an opportunity to compare, contrast, and make an informed decision. But subjecting us to political victories every morning is not an alternative to the democratic space that we enjoy.
Eric has a question. Really, Q3G is also asking, when did Adan leave Jubilee?
I am a member of Jubilee.
But you're also in broad-based.
Yes, because we have an Azimio. All of us actually in Azimio. You see, the way democracy works, as Jubilee is a member of Azimio. Okay? I am also a member of parliament. Member representing elders. If my party makes a wrong decision, I am not bound by law to follow the party blindly. I will correct. I am a founder member of the broad-based government. That is why I am. Of course, the other people are a bit flip-flopping. I just pray that they will see sense. And you know, for me, at my age and my experience, I cannot hide my feelings. I am openly a proponent of the broad-based government.
The truth, as everybody knows it, is that you are one of the renegade members of Jubilee. You are in Jubilee by name. You're not in Jubilee by spirit or by deed. And the party leader of Jubilee has actually come out to talk about such people as you and others in parliament who are not in Jubilee in anything apart from name Jubilee. That's it.
I will correct you. Let me correct you this. We have 35 members of parliament, except one. 33 members of parliament are all in the broad-based government, except one. So I think all of us are not wrong. And who are the Democrats? Who are the owners of the party? I am the representative of the party in parliament. I am the owner of the party. What somebody outside says there is neither here nor there.
The leadership of Jubilee has said you people are the renegades. But that's it. Adan, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for having this conversation with us. In our next conversation, we want to talk about national security from perspective of the strategy for national security and the importance of national security. The National Security Advisor, Monica Juma, Ambassador Dr. Monica Juma, will be joining us next. Keep it here for that. It's coming up to 8 a.m.